Do you have that grin on your face because you see I started recording just like right away?
No, you always wear not always, you wear the money team hats a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
I stayed once, at that time, I think we were just girlfriend and boyfriend or whatever that stage is. I don't know. But
Boyfriend and
we said,
boyfriend. Are you talking about us? Boyfriend and boyfriend, I think is the
not me
proper
and you,
term.
this was
Oh,
after us.
oh,
Now my now wife, we were staying at the Fountain Blue in Miami and we saw Floyd Mayweather leaving the hotel and he was just like walking out, passing out hundreds to everyone, the bellhop and the doorman and the valet it was kind of a cool thing to see. And then someone came up to take a picture with him and he was just like, no way, man.
eat a dick. Here's 100. Eat a dick.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. It sucks. I did a podcast with Sam Apple, the author of Ravenous, and it has all screwed up audio coming from his end. I don't know if he had a fan on or what was going on.
You told me to check out his book.
Oh, it's amazing. You got to check it out.
I'm giving you more of my bust this time too.
Oh, thank you.
So are you a huge Floyd Mayweather fan, or is you just kind of like because he's the best? You
Hold
like
on.
to?
I don't know if I can hear you anymore.
Oh, fuck.
Can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
You guys can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me, Sevan?
Oh, how about that? Now can I hear you?
I hear everybody.
Oh shit, better. Okay, go on.
But I was just wondering, like, are you a huge fan? Is it just because you think he's the best, or?
Brian, you look great.
What? He asked you
You
a
do
question.
look good.
I know.
sorry.
I'm gonna answer it. I'm a circuitous thinker. You look great. You look like me with a smaller nose.
Wow.
Why don't
Very
you
humble
just
of you.
Why don't you just text me what microphone and what headphones to get so I can just buy them and be done with these AirPods, man?
Okay, done. Consider it done.
Okay. Yeah, please. I'll just get it set up.
Do you hear that? Hobart's thinking he's a regular now. Hobart, he sees
No.
a few
It wasn't
comments on Instagram, and now he's just all slipping in.
No,
That's beyond the DMs.
It wasn't for you. It's just since I've been on your podcast, I've just received so many more invites to other, notable podcasts. So I just got to be prepared, man.
Hey, dude, we were joking around, and you had to throw something sharp and serious in there. Not cool. Oh, too true and hurts. So basically, one time I was at the Four Seasons with the infamous and notorious Greg Glassman, and the guy who was friends with Floyd Mayweather since they were little kids. He ran Floyd Mayweather's store, at floydmayweather.com or whatever, and he was a great dude, such a cool dude. And basically, Greg got him into CrossFit, and I think Miranda started doing personal training with him in Beverly Hills or Los Angeles or somewhere like that. I think it was Miranda Oldroyd then, and Miranda Alvarez now, the uber successful founder and CEO of Street Parking with her husband.
I know. Totally
Julian.
underappreciated street parking is like it's amazing.
Yeah, who cares if it's underappreciated? Her bank account isn't underappreciated.
It is not.
She's a savage, and their shit's good. And she moved to Washington, which is cool. So, go ahead.
No, I was gonna make an inappropriate jab, but I'm not gonna.
I was friends. I worked with her for, I don't know, 10, 15 years and never really knew her. We just didn't talk. We'd be in the same room 1,000 times. And then now that I don't work at CrossFit and she doesn't work at CrossFit, we're like Instagram buddies or DM buddies. I had her on the podcast, and I guess that was it. We're friends now.
Once people are on your podcast, they can't stay away from you. I've been hitting you up all week now since the last one.
I wouldn't say all week, but a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it's also
You
just
give me
opened
the
up to
random-
have just normal conversation. We've talked about just some other stuff too.
Oh shit! There's a third person on this podcast.
Sorry, I was reading something.
So Floyd Mayweather. So I met him with Greg, and then Dave Castro got me into boxing. I was never into MMA or boxing. I don't remember if it was like 10 years ago, but he was so into boxing. So if I wanted to talk with him, I had to kind of get into boxing. So I kind of got into he kind of would be like, "There's a big fight tonight." So I started watching fighting, Then I got into MMA, and I got like a handful of hats for free, and then I bought a few hats, and I never wore them because Greg one time said to me, I wore one of these hats out, and he said to me, how the fuck do you wear a hat that represents a scumbag like woman beater like him? So I was like, all right, the boss doesn't like these hats. But now he's not my boss, so I'm just rocking them. I like it because it gives me the Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtle. I don't even think of it as a Floyd Mayweather hat.
That's the first thing I think of when I see it.
Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles?
Yes.
Yes, and a lot of people say that to me, so I just go with it. I'm just like, yeah. There was something else we were going to touch on. Where did we swerve off to? Miranda, your podcast gear, Ninja Mutant Turtles.
That was really it.
Handsome.
Brian's like jacked up. I can tell he's got a lot to talk about tonight because there's a lot going on. So.
Yeah, Sevan.
Let's start.
Sevan, you know what I forgot earlier when we were talking was that article I sent you guys a few days ago about the semifinal programming came out today, and I was just reading through some of the comments on there. They were kind of interesting.
Fantastic article. Best article I never read. Where do I go? Let me morning chalk up.
No, you won't find it there. You'll have to find the one I emailed to you.
No, but if I want to see the comments.
I don't know if you'll be able to see them.
Because it's behind a paywall?
Yeah, I don't know if the comments are visible or not to accounts that are behind, that haven't subscribed.
No, you can see you can see comments if you haven't subscribed.
3 big questions about semi-final programming. I wonder if you're going to get in trouble, Brian, since I'm not a subscriber to Morning Chalk Up and you let me read the article. They're going to take that out of your paycheck.
oh no. I think it's okay. Especially if we talk about it here.
That's like my way of paying the membership. Like, this show is sponsored to you by the Morning Chalk Up. Speaking of sponsors,
you know what I don't like,
drinking
though?
Coffee again, and you guys have no idea how strong Good Dude's coffee is. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in love with Josh. This shit is like dangerously strong. What do you like, Brian?
No, it's what I don't like is when I wrote the article, it says 3 big questions, and there were 3 questions, and they were numbered 1, 2, 3. So if you were scrolling through the article, you could find the 1 and see what the question is, and then decide if you wanted to read about that question, and 2, read about it, 3, and whoever formatted it took the numbers 1, 2, 3 away, and now I wrote the article and I can't even find the questions easily.
Breaks your heart.
Well, to me it's not accessible in the way that I wanted it to be for people who are trying to read it.
What's the article about, Brian? Can you give us a synopsis?
Yeah, I mean,
it's the semifinal programming one, right? I'm opening it up right now.
Yeah. So I just, the semifinals had passed.
Hobart,
the first
you've read it, right? James, you read it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Brian. Go on.
No, it was the first year of the semifinals, and I thought it would be prudent to take a look back and see, what happened, and if there's anything that we could learn from it. I think in writing the article, I didn't necessarily say that there was or wasn't. I was basically just asking the questions. And the first one was, does it matter if there's 6 or 7 workouts in a qualifying competition weekend? And I used some specific examples to highlight the fact that a couple athletes who participated in a 6 competition event and did really well on 5 workouts and really poorly on 1 missed the games by a few points, and that in another example where there were 7 workouts, athletes who had 1 notable outlier bad performance were able to make up for it by having 6 good performances, and that was enough to get them in by a few points.
So that kind of sticks with your theory. You've been sort of beating that drum all along in regards to the games versus the semifinals, and here it's even just 1 workout makes a difference. That's sort of the we could call that the Fikowski effect, right?
He generally will do better if there's more events, but really what the question is about the semifinal stage is, should there be more consistency? And the first question I wanted to ask was, does it matter if there's 6 or 7 events?
Okay, and what's the second? Go ahead, James.
I think did I talk to you guys about this before? I was talking to somebody once about the Open, and I was saying how, I love the Open, and I know it can be stressful for some people. I wish the Open was 10 weeks long. And someone was telling me that statistically the way it starts to work is after 5 to 6 weeks, you basically just see the top, whatever, first percentile, just start to slowly pull away from the rest of the pack. But after that 5 or 6 weeks, you don't see any like huge jumps in the placing anymore. But what I was thinking, Brian,
how would they know? How would they know, Hobart? How would they know? Whoever said that.
I think there's, and I'm not a math guy, I think there's some like, if you're like a statistical whiz or like a math wonk, you can you have some formulas and knowledge that would lead you to that point. But I'm definitely outthrowing my coverage on that discussion there.
Okay. Brian,
but I'm looking to Brian to answer that question. We're staring at you right now.
Which question? The 6 or 7?
Yeah, does it matter? Like, would it matter as like they're a magic number? Like the games has like been always, like they've kind of settled on like what 14 or 15 events now.
Yeah, so I think that I think that if I was going to make a blanket statement about what I'm writing, is the real question, the bigger overarching question is, should the semifinals be the same test for everyone? And these are just like small subsections of that question.
What's occupying more room in your head right now, Brian? That they didn't format your article right, or the comments? Which one's winning? Give me a breakdown of 60-40, because clearly no part of your brain is here on the podcast right
now. I'm not sure what to say to that, Sevan. I mean, I think that these are good questions, and I was pretty happy with the data that I was able to pull out to paint a picture, just to say like it could matter. And I feel like, regardless of what you think or I think, it's worth it for CrossFit to sit back and say, okay, this was year 1 of semifinals, and these are questions we have because we want to see what's going to be the best for year 2.
Okay, let's say you are right. Let's say there is a lack of consistency in who you get between 6 and 7. Still, who cares if there's a lack of consistency? Why does that matter? What's the presupposition that I should be making that matters?
When you look back, some of the things people are saying is that if there's something that you're not good at and it doesn't get tested, that's just luck of the draw. But I feel like we have examples of that from regionals where, people would miss making to the games one year, and they're regular games athletes because of one workout at regionals that they weren't able to do that year for whatever reason. But everyone else who made the games was able to do that workout. And if you just happen to draw a semifinal that has the one workout that's going to keep you out of the games, and everyone else who's competing all these different semis doesn't have to take that test, I feel like it's almost unlucky.
So part of me is just like, hey, who cares? All that matters is that we choose the winner. But here's the part where I'll push back on myself on that. Let's talk about the travel. Part of me is like, hey, who cares if you make it to the games or not? Like, who cares about the travel restrictions? Like, what do I give a fuck? But you know when it would matter? If Tia couldn't make it. Because then that would invalidate the entire competition. And then from there, I don't really know how to think about it. Then does that mean that it should matter for everyone?
But we have an actual example where this happened.
And so, sorry, one thing, and the reason why I jump over to that is because you can say the same thing about 6 or 7 workouts also. Part of me wants to say, who cares? But if for some reason it left out the person who 99% of us think is the very best, then we have a problem.
Well, or
do we not?
No. It's a fair point, because, like you said, if the 6th or 7th gets in, who cares? But if the person that's the favorite to win the games doesn't get in for one of these kind of random reasons, then you're gonna feel differently about it. But in 2014, this happened to Sam Briggs. She was a defending games champion. She struggled on the max distance handstand walk at regionals. She probably would have been the favorite that year. And that's the year we've talked about where Cara was close to winning, Camille won that year, and a majority of the women that finished in the top 10 that year never returned to the top 10 in their career. You were potentially missing the best female CrossFit athlete because of one workout. Now think of a scenario where that regional...
So that's two things. So you're saying in 2000... That was 2015 she didn't go to the games,
14.
Sam Briggs? 14. And that was the year Camille won.
Yeah.
So we have the Cara Sanders injury and we have the Sam Briggs debacle.
It's not a debacle. She wasn't good enough at that test. And everyone had to take that test to get there, and she couldn't do it. But it wasn't a test that she wasn't good at that she had to take, and the other 30 people who qualified for the games didn't have to take.
Okay.
There's a lot of good programmers out there, and a lot of good people are programming the competitions that are in the semifinals. I don't have a problem with the programming. I'm just wondering, do we want to have a field who've taken all these different avenues to get there? And some people might say yes, but you can, it was surprisingly easy for me to pull out actual statistical evidence from this year that demonstrated where six workouts got one athlete in, or kept one athlete out, and 7 workouts got another athlete in.
And how do you prove, you may have already gone over this, how do you prove that would have made a difference for the other athletes?
I actually don't think that really matters. Yeah, I don't think nice. That matters. I think your point about just that, it's like, imagine any big sports event, like one team only has to qualify through a single round of playoffs to get to the Super Bowl, and another team has to qualify through 4 rounds of playoffs. Like, the path getting there is what's important. I don't think you need to prove statistically like that such and such would have happened if the tests were the same. I don't know. And if I was to dumb it down too, I like when everyone has the same test, because I just love those cross-regional, cross-whatever, sanctional comparisons. I think those are so fun to see how all the athletes stack up on the same test. And from a just a viewer standpoint, I think it's way more fun to have all of the same test.
But then, Hobart, I agree with you. Part of me agrees with that they should all be the same test. But when they're all different tests, then we go to the games with a little more uncertainty, which is kind of fun too, right? There's a little more tension. Just like, and that's the thing with like Hopper. We don't know how he would have done in the West Coast Classic. Like, it's totally different, all different workouts.
He would have smashed it, man.
We don't know how he would have done at the Granite Games.
But I will say this: if you look at the MAC and you were to break it down and be like, this is a well-varied test, and here are all the elements, and Jason Hopper crushed it there. And if you were to say the same thing, if you could say the same thing about the West Coast Classic, then you'd have a lot of good evidence to say, yeah, he'd still do great there.
Okay. You mean if Cole Sager and Noah Olsen had done the same set of workouts? The guys who are at the top of the West Coast.
But I mean, you are right. We will eventually find out, right? They'll all get to the games and we'll see what happens.
Right.
What else about this article, Brian? Damn, now I'm kicking myself in the face. I'm not reading it.
Well, the other thing, the next question was just about like a natural movement progression during the season. So I used some examples from previous seasons, and we know that in these seasons, Dave would program the Open and the regionals and the games, and he has, on his wall, he has the progression of movements from every year, and I think that he uses that to evolve movements. In particular, with handstand push-ups, it's easy to track. 2016, handstand push-ups in the Open, strict handstand push-ups at the regionals, ring handstand push-ups at the games. You can see the clear evolution of difficulty in the movements. With the handstand walking obstacle course that one year, we had a handstand walk, we had an obstacle course, we had a much more extensive obstacle course at the game. This year, there were wall walks, then there were handstand push-ups in the quarterfinals of a variety, strict and kipping, and then you get to the semifinals, and one competition has 120 meters of handstand walking, another has 300 feet of handstand walking, another has 40 strict handstand push-ups, another has only 100 feet of handstand walking, another has 42 strict deficit handstand push-ups at increasing sets. So now what's the next progression at the games?
One arm handstand push-ups.
Because you could choose deficit strict handstand push-ups. Well, 5% of the athletes just had to do that test. I'm not saying that that's bad or good. I'm just saying that when you're telling the story of the season, it's a little bit less cohesive.
Do you know if there's any plans to keep this up? Have they announced a format for next year yet?
No, and I don't think they should. I think they should see this out through the season, and then have these conversations and come up with a plan.
Are you part of these conversations?
No.
You're just a pundit? Are you part of these conversations, Hobart?
No, I'm not.
Do you have any affiliation to the games team right now besides as an athlete?
I do not this year, yeah, unfortunately. I do not. Just sitting back and watching it unfold.
And last year you were a tester.
I was a tester last year, yeah, and I worked on the Athlete Advisory Council too, which really we really didn't discuss programming. It was more like logistics stuff than specifics of programming.
Are you still on the Athlete Advisory Council?
I think they're going to, short answer is I don't think so. I think they're going to cycle out and try and bring in new athletes each season or each year they try and do it.
When I see, so is the Athlete Council, is that the thing, is Fikowski the head of that?
No, I think you're thinking different.
What is that?
What is that, Brian? Can you remind me the name?
I think it's called the PFAA. I can't remember exactly what it stands for.
I think it's Professional Fitness Athletes Association or something. That's more like a players union, like an NFL players union. Whereas the Athlete Advisory Council was just it was a group of us, myself, Annie Thorisdottir, Neil Maddox, and Meredith Root, and we worked with members of the games team to discuss things like competition parity, logistics about online format versus in-person format, structures around like qualifying time. For example, when they do the online formats, like should it be a 24-hour window, 12-hour window, stuff like that.
I'm going to keep my opinion to myself on that. That and the DEI Council, I have strong opinions about, and I'll keep them for now. I will not digress to the pits.
I would like all the tests to be the same. I would like that a lot. It's fun to see. The coolest part about CrossFit programming is the opportunity, right? The variance of it is so exciting. But I like when the tests are the same throughout the season. It makes it easier for me to follow. It's more exciting, I think.
And that's a valid reason.
Yeah, it's not super fancy, but that's just how I feel.
And Brian thinks it would be more. Brian, you think you would like that too, right? You think it would be more fair.
I think I'm with James. It just makes more sense to me. Like you want it, usually in a season, whatever the sport is, like there's a story, and the story makes more sense that way to me.
I wonder, like, if in golf, I don't know exactly how golf works, but I wonder if in golf or in auto racing, there's same ways to get to the championships, but racing on different tracks or golfing at different golf courses.
Yeah, there definitely are, and that's what the sanctional season was. And it was, I mean, look, the sport of CrossFit already is something that if you aren't familiar with it and you turn on the TV to watch it, that it's not necessarily that easy to follow. And depending on who's doing the broadcast and who's done the programming and the layout of the floor and the space that's available, you have to figure out how to make that happen. So, because otherwise, if you don't have more people watching, then it's going to be hard to grow in the way that a lot of people want it to. So it needs to be quickly digestible as a sport. You have to understand what's happening on the floor. And then if you say, well, how'd these athletes get here? And you say, oh, they had to go through 3 stages of competition. It was the open, the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and these are the best of the best. Did they take the same test all the time? Actually, no. They had a variety of different things. Some went to one continent. Some were online. Some had to do these set of workouts. Some had to do more workouts, actually, to get here than these people. Happens to be like, what? It's just...
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I followed the sport as close as anyone could follow it for 10 years, and then the 1 year I turned my head to look away, and then I look back. You're right. It's like, and the terminology, the vernacular doesn't help. All the vernacular changing also. James, did you just hold in a sneeze?
Yeah, I was about to sneeze, and so I was like, that's why I was smirking, because it was like right on the edge, and then it just disappeared.
I don't think that's healthy, buddy.
Why?
I think that can give you a tumor in that region between your testicles and your anus if you hold in a sneeze. You could get a cramp down there.
My grundle?
Yeah, or chode, or what's that area called? Chin rest?
Taint. I just I just don't think you're tough enough. I just think I was like, crush that.
God, I never would hold in a sneeze. Sneezes are great.
I'm kind of curious about Mike G's question here, where he says that the sanctional events, he says that this qualifying system costs athletes thousands of dollars, which I don't really understand his point, but
is that the Mike G we know?
No, I don't think it is. I don't know.
Okay.
He makes a lot of comments on Morning Chalk Up articles, though. And one of the things he says here is how come, like, he feels that certain athletes, if they did well enough the year before, should be able to skip stages of qualification. Tia shouldn't have to go through the open and the quarterfinals every year. She should just get a pass to semis have to prove it there and
They
get
used they used to do that, and why I think that shouldn't be the case. I remember they did that once in 2010 because there was I qualified in 2009 to the games, and then in 2010 they did that, so I didn't have to qualify at that sanctionals or sectionals or regionals level. I got to go straight from the games, and honestly, I looked at the sectionals and I looked at who competed, and I don't think I would have made it to the games that year. And it was like after that I was convinced like they should continue to do like a quarterfinals or a semifinals event because of that. Like I don't think I would have made it.
So, I agree.
Yeah.
I think everyone should have to do it.
But he parlays that question into the fact that athletes are losing out on opportunities to compete in competitions that actually could have substantial paychecks because they have to do the Open in February, wait a few weeks, do the quarterfinals, wait another month and a half, do the semifinals.
Is that true? Is that true what he's saying? Can you think of any competitions that are going on at the same time that would make someone significant amount of money that they'd miss?
No one schedules their competitions during the game season because no one's going to come to them. So they schedule them in the off season. So he's saying if the off season was longer or this season was shorter, then they would have more opportunities to make money if they wanted to.
Hey, I heard something.
I think this is a premature comment because we need to let the season play out. And I don't just mean the game season. I mean after the games, the Rogue Invitational is going to happen in October. Dubai is making plans to happen in December. Wodapalooza is intending to happen in January. Those are the 3 most lucrative events from the sanctional season. And they're still going to be a part of the calendar year of CrossFit that people have opportunity to make money.
I mean, I feel like athletes have a lot of money to make at the games too if they do really well. I mean, I think that's where you have like the most money to make.
100%, and it's not even just the money from winning the competition. It's the recognition, the accolade of being in the top 10, top 5 on the podium, whatever, and then the subsequent sponsorship deals that follow.
I feel like, hard work pays off if you catch my drift.
I don't know if this stat is true. I've said it several times. Maybe someone can fact check it. But I heard in a single weekend, the golf ecosystem makes more than the entire NFL makes in a system in a year. The golf ecosystem in a single weekend makes more money than the NFL generates more. The golf ecosystem generates more revenue in a single weekend than the NFL generates in an entire year. And at first you're like, wait a second. But then you think of all the golf courses all around the world and all the people who play and all the clubs and all the balls and all the shirts. So my point is this. And I know neither of you have said it, but people have always talked about that CrossFit athletes should make more money. It's just the fact that the money's just not in the ecosystem yet. The ecosystem, this isn't golf. And even golf, only 150 players, I think, are paid to be on the tour. And the other dudes who are on the tour, the other 150 dudes who are on the tour, however many it is, they have to pay their way, and it's fucking expensive. I think it costs over $100,000 if you want to cruise around on the tour with the guys and play.
I'll be careful here because I don't want to be rude. I get frustrated with that should make more money statement, just because you're putting in 40 hours a week or whatever, 50 hours a week that you're entitled to a certain level of pay regardless of the quality of your competitive ability. But that's easy for me to say, right? Because I was a good athlete, definitely not a great athlete. I knew I was not going to make my living out of competing, so I went and did other adventures, and that was my choice. So I don't know, and it's I look at the athletes who are really successful, and they seem to be doing it very well. And
did you make enough money as a Mayhem Empire team member to sustain life?
No, I mean I still work. I worked.
You won the games 4 times with the Mayhem Empire, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, twice with them and once with New England.
Okay. And did any of those years did you make enough money to where you could buy a home in Cookeville and chill and raise a kid?
From competing? No. I worked seminar staff full time, or that. Okay. I mean, every weekend. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to discredit anybody's effort, but I don't know.
Anyone who thinks that they should make more money always has like, yeah, we all wish that they made more money. But
so Sevan, your point is a good one. Is that the money is not in the ecosystem right now, but
yeah.
What the point of asking some of these questions is, well, what can we do to make it the ecosystem more approachable so that more money can come into the system? And changing the structure every year is probably not the answer. Now we know we have
I agree.
We know we have new leadership this year, and I think that people are jumping the gun and assuming that they should have a perfect answer in year one. I think we got to give them a couple years. I know people don't want to hear that because the last years have been so frustrating, but you can't expect them to get it perfect. They have to figure out how to work together and whatever. This is very much a trial year. Hopefully they're asking questions like this and more. They'll come back with a new plan in year 2, and by year 3, I think if it's not smooth and running well, then we can start saying, what's going on?
And the ecosystem, even though people think it's just the games, it's much bigger than the games. It involves a healthy, robust affiliate ecosystem and a training ecosystem. For a ton of different reasons.
Yeah, and I still think
a lot
it's
of people
growing.
forget that. I don't think the games exist without fucking robust affiliates. The affiliates are the trunk of the tree. The games are the fruit. You know.
Yeah.
I think.
No.
At least for now.
And I think it's still growing. You know, and I think like I will say this, like from my perspective, and obviously I'm biased, right? I've been involved with CrossFit as a company now for 10 years, and I've been doing CrossFit for 14 years, but it's like I still see it growing, and it's like the games team has iterated in a positive way more than a lot of other sports associations out there I've seen. Maybe the only one, other than that has done it more and more successfully would be something like the UFC. But it's like the games team like self-reflects, and I feel like it's better and better every year, even after like a massive hiccup, in 2020, right? That was COVID year, 2020.
And I totally agree with you. And I think that the games are a crazy beautiful event compared to most sporting events. But I agree with Brian. Like, it can be hard to follow, but it's epic. It's epic. Everything.
I don't think the games themselves are that hard to follow. Maybe an individual event can be a little bit hard on a live stream, but for the most part, at the games, they have the scoring system there. The point system is usually uniform. Everyone, in the more recent years, everyone's taking a majority, if not the entire test, and it's pretty easy.
It's updated quickly.
It's the season as a whole that's been changing so much, and that's where people are getting lost.
Right. I want to talk about travel.
Yeah.
So building up to us getting on the air, there were all these. Can you set the scene for before we saw the news that we saw today? What it looked like for travel for people, sort of the weird, bizarre shit that people were doing.
Well,
they were
a while ago,
you had to go to Mexico first and then to the United States. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this came on my radar almost 2 months ago now. The fact that there were going to be certain areas of the world that athletes who had been within, people just in general who've been in that region of the world within 2 weeks of when they wanted to come to the United States would not be able to come. And that was part of some presidential order from January that hadn't been amended yet. And back a couple months ago, someone asked me about it, and they're like, this is going to be a real thing, and no one's talking about it. And I started doing a little digging.
By presidential order, you mean from the President of the United States?
Yeah.
The U.S.?
Yeah, a federal order.
Okay.
I don't know if it necessarily came directly from him, but a federal rule that prevented people from traveling here from these regions. Obviously related to COVID. So, sorry. I should fast forward to the funny part that I just thought of. The funny part about this rule is that some of these athletes are living in countries that their infection rate per 100,000 people is in the lowest 5 in the world. Finland is number 1, least infected per 100,000 people. Iceland was number 3. Denmark was number 5. And in order to get to the United States, they were going to have to travel to places like Dubai or Mexico, stay there for 2 weeks, not quarantine, just stay there, so they weren't in these other regions, and then they could come to the United States. They still have to obviously pass COVID test and whatever else, but the funny part is that Dubai, or it's UAE, Mexico, and the United States are all 50 or worse in terms of infection rates relative to 100,000 people. So they had to go from a relatively
safe area. So you had to go to
area.
another country and pick up some COVID, leave a safe area, pick up some COVID, and come to the U.S.
Well, yeah, I mean, and someone told me that I didn't go and check and see if those numbers were true, but it's not that hard to believe.
Whoever told you that's crazy. Okay, so now what we're hearing as of today is that the athletes have all received exemptions. Is that true? All?
It's called a National Interest Exemption Travel Waiver, and it sounds like the athletes, of which I believe there were 20 individuals and something like a dozen teams, which is another, 60. Yeah, so 60-something athletes, plus, and they each get a +1. So they can bring a coach or a wife or one extra person with them. And I think that, yes, it sounds like they were all given that exemption to travel to the U.S. but for the CrossFit Games, but they still have like a process of steps that they'll have to go through to do it.
By process, you mean like they might have to be vaccinated, or they might have to take a PCR test, or they might have to be quarantined for 2 weeks. There might be some guidelines about how quickly they have to get here and what hoops they have to jump through to actually get on the field.
There's a ton. They have to do a background check. They have to... Some might need a visa.
What are you reading off of, Hobart? What are you reading off of?
This is Morning Chalk Up.
Okay.
And pass a COVID test, apply by all CDC guidelines. And their timeline's pretty tight. I mean, we're 26 days out? That's wild.
And is there a quarantine in there? Do they have to quarantine in the States?
I don't think there's a quarantine.
I didn't see that, Brian. Did you say that? Yeah.
No quarantine, but then of course each country has their own rules anyways with regards to visas and that process. And there was an example that was on our radar last week of the two brothers from Serbia, Lazar and Luka Djukic, whose embassy was not granting visas until 2023. But today I think today they posted a picture that they had gone to the embassy and gotten their visas. So something happened. Something changed.
Sweet. So I have two points I'd like to bring up about this. One is practical and one's political. The practical one is can this still change? Like, is this going to be the thing we're not going to believe that they're actually going to be here until we see them get off the plane?
Oh, I hope not. That would be such a bummer. Like, I hope that... I don't know. You'd have to go look up what a national interest exception waiver, if it has like a... I don't know. What do you call those things? They lapse or have like a... My brain's dead right now.
No, I mean,
I know what you mean.
No, I'm with James. Though. If that
expiration date on them or some sort of like there's something in fine print at the bottom, this can change on a moment's notice.
Yeah, like a limitation on it. Yeah,
a caveat. Yeah.
But I'm hopeful that that's obviously not the case. I mean, the last week or two, when the people I was talking to there were saying like, this is the reality of the situation. This is how much it costs us to have to travel to these countries, stay there, come to the U.S., and it's just a burden and an interruption to their training. I mean, this is the most important training cycle for them of the year. You have to travel 8 hours this way, acclimate to that weather, that time zone, whatever, then take a 13-hour trip across the ocean 3 days before the biggest competition of the year. That was going to be pretty detrimental, I would think, to their performances. But additionally, it would just put another tarnish on this season if we didn't have that pool of athletes, because these are excellent athletes that are top 10 podium contenders in some cases, and you just don't have the same caliber of test, the credential, if they're not in the field.
Why does that tarnish the season, though? Like, I think that would tarnish the season if this was going to be the last season ever, and it's like, we're going to have another 15 seasons. It was just that's the way the season rolled out. It's like, I don't know why that's like, I don't know, a great quarterback breaks his wrist. I don't know if that like tarnishes the season, or the defending champs, star player is injured and they don't win. Like, I don't know if that tarnishes the entire season. I just think that's just how the season played out. I mean, all I'm hearing...
Well, once again, let me say this. What if it was Tia? What if it was like that? I don't know the details, but what if it was like that College World Series where the whole team they had dudes on the team who wouldn't get vaccinated? And, I mean, wouldn't you say that tarnished their World Series? And it definitely would tarnish the game. I mean, no woman can win this year without Tia being there. I mean, it's already weird enough that Matt's not there, right? So
I don't know. I don't
but
know. You just don't know. Like any given day in competition, like granted, if Tia shows up, like is it much less likely that you're going to win if you're competing against her? Yeah, absolutely. But it's like, I don't know.
I feel you. I want to agree with you. I'm just struggling with the Tia effect. When I throw her in there, it screws everything up. I can't be just all blasé about it.
And she will lose eventually or retire, but she hasn't lost in a long time. So.
And the other thing is this. So, don't get me wrong. I'll be really happy if all the athletes go there. It's going to be fucking awesome. I'm more interested in the games than I've been in 4 years. Thank you, Brian. And I'm pumped. I'm going to be glued to my TV the entire time. I'm really excited. But why does a CrossFit athlete get to come to the United States and someone who can't come to the United States whose mom has terminal cancer and can't get that exemption? And when you put it in perspective like that, like anytime I'm really mad at someone, I'm like, this fucking piece of shit, I want to fucking hit him with a hammer. I think, dude, they didn't do anything to your kids.
It's terrible.
And then it puts everything in perspective. Like nothing anyone could ever do to me should ever bother me unless like you did it to my kids. What do I care? Like the memes guy made that shirt. Blocked by Sevan. That's a bad example because that was actually kind of cool. That's the first shirt anyone's ever made about me. By the way, I need a CEO shirt.
Yeah, well, don't make your own, please.
You think that would make me a tool? I have to be nominated.
If someone anonymously sends you one, maybe.
Okay. But do you have an answer to that?
No.
About like no.
No, it's
that makes sense. Like we have to think about it relatively. Like as games fans, we're excited that they're coming, but this is just to get the games, right?
And that law or whatever it is from January. I mean, it feels like a lot has changed since January. Why is that still there?
You mean that you can't travel?
Yeah, I feel like
variance.
Okay, well, I probably don't know enough about it to comment one way or the other, but I'm guessing that there's been more COVID outbreaks in various parts of the world over the last months, and hopefully that they would adjust the regions accordingly. But if there's a place that's relatively low COVID exposure, why is that place on the list?
Yeah, and Miko Salo is not dying from COVID. You would stand up, help fuck COVID up. Have you had COVID, Hobart?
I don't think so.
But you haven't been tested for the antibodies, so you wouldn't know.
No, I got tested a bunch because I was still doing early on. I was still traveling for seminars, and then for a while, when like a lot of the country shut down, I stopped traveling for seminars. And then when I started traveling again, Massachusetts still had pretty rigid rules about testing, so I got tested a lot, and I never.
But not for antibodies. Antibodies.
I did PCR and antibody tests.
Oh, okay.
But I had a really weird, so I had a negative antibody test, and then I had a positive antibody test, and then I had a negative PCR test thereafter, and then I never had any other positive antibody tests, so I don't really know.
Wait, did you say your second antibody test was positive?
Yep.
Oh, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. So you've had it.
But this was a long...
You've had it.
Yeah, maybe. This is a long time ago. This was like at the start of it in 2020, yeah. Like March 2020.
Did you come out to HQ anytime during December 2019 to January, February 2020 in those 3 months? Did you ever come out to Santa Cruz, California?
I'll check. I don't know if I was out there in December of 2019. No.
Because there was a time there, a 3-month period in there where pretty much everyone at HQ got sick. It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts.
Nope, I was
people flying in and out of there like crazy.
I was in Argentina, Columbus, Ohio, Madison, Boston, Baltimore, Germany, and then California in the end of January.
There you go. of January 2020.
Yeah, that might actually been for testing.
Was that the testing I filmed?
No, that was that was a different time. That was before the second stage of the first stage of the games.
Okay.
That was a
So
brutal
Brian,
event.
that the testing for that?
Yeah, because I was not as fit as I needed to be for that event.
Are you talking about like Friendly Fran
Brian,
and those workouts?
Yeah.
Oof.
That I did that Nancy workout with the run, burpee, overhead squat was so bad.
I did that workout with scaled weight, and it was miserable. Yeah.
But it was
So
an
Brian, you
awesome
feel
test.
confident that all the travel that we're going to see good games this year with all the athletes showing up?
I feel very, very confident based on what I saw today and the couple athletes that I've spoken to. Plus, I mean, Laura Horvath's already here in the United States. It looks like she's in CrossFit Krypton. Even though it wasn't from a necessarily restricted area, Cara Saunders posted that she bought her plane ticket. So the athletes are making their plans and coming here. Several others who had recently posted that they were going to go to either Dubai or Mexico or Aruba or something like that posted today and said, wow, we were 1 day or 2 days away from purchasing this ticket and putting this plan in motion, and now we don't have to. So they're on top of it. I expect the ones that are like the biggest question mark for me are just the ones that are always the question mark are probably the ones from the furthest away, like from Russia or South Korea or something like that. But I think that they'll pretty much all be there.
Or even Jason Smith, right?
Yeah, but in the case of Jason Smith, like he's done it several times before, so I think he more likely to know exactly what to do and make it happen.
During the I think it was like this at the games last year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but during the games last year, were they testing the athletes for COVID during the week so that like you could have done 1 or 2 days and test positive and you're out? Like, could have Matt tested positive the last day and been out?
Oh, that would have been devastating.
I don't think so. I think that's only in the PGA golf tournaments.
Okay. So once you get there as an athlete, you're good to go. So if we see you compete on day one, the only thing that can stop you from crossing the finish line is yourself or Dave Castro.
Well, the reason I say that about last year in California is because once they passed that test, they were in a controlled environment. So they had to stay in the hotel, they had to stay on the bus, they had to eat the food provided for them, and they agreed to be part of that bubble scenario after passing the test. I don't think that's going to be the case in Wisconsin, therefore I don't know if they'll retest them every day or not. I haven't heard anything.
Have you been told about being in a bubble, James? Have the Masters been told?
Brian just kind of said Wisconsin with an accent. Are you from there?
I'm from Chicago.
Oh, okay,
Midwest.
that makes sense. Yeah, you were like Wisconsin. You had like a thing going on there. Sorry, what'd you say?
Have you been told about any bubble? Like, do you have any restrictions for yourself?
No bubble. We just you get COVID tested unless you have a vaccine.
And so
every day.
Oh, so if you have a vaccine.
No. I just think upon registration, I think was the details of that email. That one was kind of preliminary. They haven't they gave us like our times when we're supposed to show up for the age group athletes, and then that's what they said. You have to have a vaccination proof of, or you get COVID tested there.
And how do you prove that you have vaccination? You show your vaccination card?
Yeah, probably. They didn't. I don't know. I don't know if they specified. They probably specified that in the email. I didn't read that too closely.
You still have 26 days.
So to learn how to read.
Couple less for the Masters. They start early.
Yeah, that's true. Tuesday.
Dude, I'm so excited for that. I'm really happy that they made that change.
Do we want to talk about who's going to win the Masters? Are you a Masters expert, Brian Friend?
I know a decent amount about the Masters fields, but I haven't looked at the fields for this season yet too closely. I've finished the men that have qualified so far, and the women. I'm working through the teams, and then I'll get to the Masters. But I probably know them well enough to give some insight.
Well, last time he mentioned a bunch of names, and he said, "I think James will do pretty well."
Well, you're asking about that, yeah, just his division. I mean, if if you ask me to pick a winner of the men's 35 to 39 division, I think I could give you a name.
Yeah, let's do it. How before you do that, I want to get to sort by. How do I see that list? I go to the games
Leaderboard.
and I hit leaderboard and
Division.
competition division. Okay, so men 35 to 39, and it looks like there's 10 guys.
No. Are you sure? Are you on year 2021?
Yeah, it starts with Jan Hanuk.
Yeah, there's more than 10.
It's like 20.
Well, there should be 20 eventually. I don't know if everyone's registered yet. It looks like 19 of the 20 have registered. And I know that they've at least backfilled one because that guy that trains with Hopper is James Howell. He's right there, the second one from the top.
Which ones will Hobart beat?
Most of them.
He will? Will he beat Dan Bailey?
Yeah.
Will he beat
Yeah.
Zach?
I can't wait to text Dan and tell him.
Will he beat Zach Forrest?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll beat Zach.
Will he beat Jan Hanuk?
Yeah.
Will he beat James Howell?
Yeah.
Will he beat Tizano Corriga?
Okay, he's going to beat everyone except for Adrian Conway.
You think Conway's
shit.
going to win?
If I was picking today, I would pick him, then you, then Nick Block.
There's no way James is beating Kyle Casper Bauer.
Fuck
Kyle
that. I'm
Casper-
going to go
That's
start
like-
training. I'll talk to you guys later.
That's like a bowling pin beating a bowling ball. There is no way.
Oh my
There is. How is Kyle Casper Bauer? Who won last year?
That was devastating
No one
to
competed.
say.
Who won the year before?
I think Cat. No.
He withdrew the year before. He was there were 10
Yeah.
people in the field. He's listed last because he withdrew. He won the year before that.
So he's clearly a coward.
This is his last year of eligibility in this division. It's really rare for someone to win in the last year of eligibility in their division.
I know, but he's not human. Have you stood next to him?
I saw
I'll
him
have
in
to help him out
Minnesota.
of
Yeah.
his- I'll have to help him out of his seat, probably. 39.
Oh, dude, you've gotta do that now. You've got to get your Instagram rolling and do an Instagram clip of that. Where you're like, Kyle, you need help up,
Kyle is.
or you hand him a cane. Bring a cane with you,
I'm
James,
gonna-
and hand him a cane.
I'm going to just. I'm going to share my Metamucil with him.
Kyle, do you want me to beat you? What's my better chances of winning? Beating you with this cane or handing it to you?
Oh, man.
Okay, so you have Hobart as second.
Yep.
Wow.
That's cool.
There's some international.
That's a
There
lot
are
to live
some.
up to.
There are some international guys there that I don't know a ton about, but I expect that the American guys that you know well that have done well at the games before will be just fine. Meaning like
and
I'd be shocked if they weren't in the top 7 at least. Bailey and Hobart and Conway.
What about the women?
In this,
I actually recognize some of these names.
yeah, I mean that's the cool thing about this division is that a lot of these girls, not a lot of them, but 20% or so have competed multiple times as individual athletes. But there's not. I wouldn't say there's as recognizable names as there are on the men's side.
Lauren Gravatt, that's Jordan's sister, huh? Jordan Gravatt's sister.
I'm not sure.
He was a filmmaker at CrossFit HQ, and his wife was an extraordinary member of the affiliate team, maybe one of the best, if not the best. Paula.
Part of the reason why this list doesn't have some of the star-studded names is because Alessandra Pacelli, Kristen Holt, and Sam Briggs are all competing in the elite open division still. And actually, Alethea Boone also is still in the last chance qualifier.
Do you know if she's doing it?
We have to check and see if she's registered. I think she is registered.
I see Kelly Jackson. That's a name I recognize.
Yep.
I see Chelsea Hughes. She's the was she the firefighter? She was California girl?
Yeah, she competed at the West Coast Classic also. She was in the bottom heat. Yeah, Alethea Boone is registered for the semifinals, yes. But Chelsea Hughes was competing there, and I mean she was not in the league to qualify for the elite women this year, but she did. I mean, she looked really fit and was moving pretty well. So I could see her in a top 5 position.
Would Sam have done this? Sorry, Hobart. Would Sam have done this if she didn't qualify? If they hadn't have fixed the leaderboard?
Yeah, I think so.
Fixed or adjusted? Which word should I use? Fixed or adjusted?
Adjusted.
Brian, do you want to weigh in? Is it fixed or adjusted, the leaderboard?
I would say adjusted. I mean, I would not have had any problem with the leaderboard being exactly as it is now if that's the original leaderboard that they released.
But since it's not, you do have a problem.
Even if they'd have released it and said, this is a preliminary leaderboard, we're still doing video review, then I wouldn't care. But when you release it and say, this is the leaderboard and these are the people that made the games, then the ruling is over.
Now you've made a bulletproof argument. So who's going to win this out of the women?
No, better question. Do any of these women or men in the last chance qualifier make it into the top 10? And if not, what's the purpose of a last chance qualifier?
I think so.
I don't understand the question. I resent you asking a better question than mine.
I think Sevan was asking me about I think Sevan was asking about the women's masters division, and you were asking about the last chance qualifier.
I know. All right. You go Masters first.
Who do I think's gonna win the Masters 35 to 39 women? Man, there are a lot of girls here I don't know. I'm probably gonna have to pick someone that I do know. If Alethea Boone competes here, I think she's got a good chance. I think Whitney Gillin will do pretty well. It's her first year available to compete in this division. And there's an interesting story here. There's this woman, April Payne. I think she qualified 11th this year. She was 11th the last 2 years also. And those are the only 2 years they didn't take 20 to the game. So she missed by 1 spot in the first 2 years of her Masters eligibility, in the only 2 years that it wouldn't have qualified otherwise. And so she gets to compete this year, which is good.
When you say they only took 10, are you talking about for the Masters division?
Yeah, because it used to be 20, and they changed it to 10. And then she was 11th. The 1 year there was 10. The next year she also was 1 spot out, but they didn't have the Masters division, so it didn't matter. This year she was 11th for the 3rd year in a row. It's just kind of a weird story.
God, Brian, you know stuff. I'm looking up images of her. I can find her.
She competes at she competed at the Granite Games. Like, she still competes with the elite open women too. She competes in sanctionals and stuff like that. She usually doesn't do too badly either. She's in the top half of fields.
So what is the distinguishing physical traits between a Masters and an Open athlete? What is it that makes it that Hobart can't? Is it that Hobart got old, or that the new generation is so good?
Both.
Yeah, definitely both. And there are 2 men in the Masters division, Stas Solodov and Jason Smith, who've both qualified. So it's doable, but they qualified through the weakest regions. You know, there's not as many men that are at the top of the sport in Africa and Asia, and that's how they got in. And that's okay. I think that they would have a more enjoyable competition in the Masters division. Those guys, where they're going to be fighting for the top 5, fighting against a lot of guys that are similar to them, where I think they're going to be in the bottom 10 in the Open division.
I don't know what you mean by more fun. I think they'd have more fun in the Open competition, even if they did like ass.
Well, you're probably right, I guess, because they're doing that.
Hobart, do you want to ask your question again before I move to 40 to 45?
Is there money for Masters?
Yeah.
New question.
There is.
How much?
It's variable by division.
I think the
35 to 39 has
I think they share $6,000.
No.
Go ahead.
The 35 to 39 has significantly more than any other division. And then there's it tiers down from there, where the 65 plus has the least.
As I remember, it was like something like they share $6,000 for a bunch of the divisions. First place gets $3,000, $2,000, $1,000.
Totally different.
That's
now.
Cool.
If you win this 35 to 39, you get 15 grand.
Oh, that's nice.
James, go get training.
I could buy that jacket and that hat that Sevan was wearing last week.
No, you can't.
That's cool. I love that they're giving money out to the Masters. That's really. Are they giving payouts all the way down for the Open? individual elite athletes?
I think it's 1 through 20.
Wow, that stayed
that
stayed the same for a while. Yeah, 1 through 20. But it's increased.
Shit! And you know what? I think 20th place gets more money than if you win Masters. I think 20th place gets like $8,000. Is that right?
You might be right about that. Yeah, I think that like the minimum, if you do make it into the money, has gone up a little bit.
What do you think about that? That the worst dude in the worst dude in the payouts of the Open division gets less money than the winner of the Masters.
I'm fine with that because that person probably put in way more time. I think that's fine. Top 20 in the world is fucking legit.
It's very
like,
it's very
really
good.
Yeah.
When you start looking at, like, I have just a preliminary power rankings for each division, and when I start looking at the guys in that range, it's like they're still serious good athletes, guys that can win semifinals.
Yeah.
When you say power ranking based on some criteria that you've made up, Brian?
Yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time with it, so it's just a preliminary. Like, when I first saw the list, I just kind of put them in this order, and I haven't given it much thought since, but I will in the next week or so.
Is it mathematical?
No, this is at this point it's just kind of gut.
When I look at the men 40 to 45, I only recognize two names.
And in a lot of these divisions, there are guys or girls that are pretty dominant. You're looking at 40
Guido
to 44.
Guido Trinidad and Nuno Costa.
So Alexander Jolivet from France is pretty good. Guido Trinidad should do very well. I think he's just entered this division. Yeah, he's 40, so he'd be very good. And Tony Kurtz, he's 42. He would probably be my pick to win. Those three guys that'd be my podium picks for this division.
He's a unit, 70 inches, 5'10", 209 pounds. Damn.
Wow.
I have to let me see. What's his games profile? Maybe this is he was 8th in 2019. Maybe he's not a good pick. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
It says he has a 265-pound snatch. Imagine being 42 years old. Like, I have friends who don't do CrossFit, and I've just turned 35. I have friends who are like, I'm like, do you want to work out? And they're like, oh, no, man, I can't work out anymore. I got this going on and this going on. It's like, 35, you're halfway, maybe just under halfway through the game. And if you're already tapping out, this dude's 209 pounds, and he's 42, and he's snatching 265. Imagine you show up to take some girl to prom, and her dad is in the garage just repping 265-pound snatches.
Your head pops.
Have her home by noon. Have her home by midnight. You're like, yes, sir.
Fuck that. I would leave her at the door. I'd be like, all right, see ya.
I'm looking at the women 40 to 44, and I only recognize two names. Also, I recognize Stephanie Roy.
Okay, Stephanie was making her comeback this year. She had some injuries and some setbacks, but I think she's very healthy. I know she's already in the U.S., and I think she's a legitimate podium threat, if not threat to win here. But what?
How did you pronounce her name?
She snatches 175. Sevan can't snatch that. That's insane.
You don't know that.
Take your camera to the garage right now. Load it up.
I can't. I got 600. I was deadlifting in there today. I got 600 on the
I know. Max effort day.
I've never snatched 175. Never, ever. Hey, how did you say her name, Brian? Why do you got to say it all? Why can't it be Stephanie Roy?
Same way that the hockey player the goalie for the Rockies used to be Patrick Waugh. They're from Eastern Canada.
But there's no W in there.
It's French.
And then Rebecca Voigt.
Yeah, she should do great. And Kelly Friel should do great also. Those are probably my three podium picks in this division.
Should I know who Kelly Friel is? Oh, when I click on her picture, I think I recognize her.
She's pretty good. She qualified into the semifinals for the European women at 43 years old. I think she was qualified through the quarterfinals in like 7th place overall.
Okay, where's the Where's the men 45 to 49?
The last time I was in London for Strength in Depth, they had a Masters division, and I think she won like every workout. She just crushed everyone.
Well, shit, we're not even going to talk about men 45 to 49 because I don't recognize a single name.
Okay, well, if anyone cares, Jason Grubb is probably pretty good. I don't recognize a ton of the names in here either. There's a lot of new guys, but I think Jason Grubb's probably the standout here. Let's see if he has any.
Look at this. Annie Sakamoto is competing.
And he's just moved up into this division, and he won the men's 40 to 44 the last time he competed in it 2 years ago. So Grubb's probably a good pick. This division, the women 45 to 49, is I actually wrote an article about this division. So you have Karen McAdam, Janet Black, and Annie Sakamoto. And the three of them have competed against each other like a ton of times at the games and have had really close battles back and forth a bunch of times. I think that more often than not, Janet Black gets the better of the other two. But yeah, they're the like standouts here, and they've been good, relevant Masters athletes for years.
Okay, there's a woman in this division, and if you see her, you need to have a talk with her. Allison. She has 4 consonants in a row. STRN.
That's what you want me to talk
Is
to
her
her
name
about?
an acronym? Allison Strnad? Say her name for me.
I can't. That's not a word. I mean, it should probably be Strand. Maybe it's a typo.
Oh, gotcha. It's a typo. Okay, and then let's look at Filaretti. Xanthodaki.
Yeah,
Is that Greece?
Greek, yeah.
Give her a pass. Greek women are cool.
Holy crap!
You saw her name?
No, I'm. You guys are like far behind. I'm over in this age 62 women's, and I'm just checking out. I'm checking out Susan Clark who literally has more abs than I've ever had, and she deadlifts 285 at the young age of 62, and that's what we need to be talking about.
Susan.
Okay, we'll
Susan
get there.
Clark.
No.
We should talk about her because
and he has
she's.
stats.
Okay, but I want.
See? Gosh, I know how to pick them.
God damn it, Hobart! I'm the host. Where are we? Women 60 to 64.
Susan Clark is undefeated at the games. She's 4 for 4 in the year she's competed, and the last year she competed, she won every single event.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at her stats. Yeah, Susan Clark, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're probably working out right now. I'm a fan.
We wrote it.
God.
I had
Wait a second. She's won the games every year she's gone.
4 for 4.
Yeah, 4 for 4.
She doesn't compete every year, but every year she's gone, she's won. I think that that's the only person for whom that's true. That's like won more than, multiple times.
By the way, when I was 34, I had those numbers. I don't know if I ever back squatted 220. I must have. I think I back squatted 265 once.
How amazing is that?
Yeah, that's crazy. That is insane.
There's some incredible
And how much does she weigh? That's a double body weight deadlift, right?
Over. She weighs 123 pounds.
And we're the same height. And I weigh 155.
My mom my mom who's never competed at the games, but she's fit, and she'd probably get mad at me. She's really fit for someone who's in her 60s. She's fit for someone who would be in their 50s. But she once asked me, she's like, how would I stack up to other people my age, like the average person my age? And I was trying to find like fitness standards online for people in their late 50s and 60s, and it was like do a sit-up, it was do 1 push-up, it was like walk, it was like do, I don't know, like a certain amount of steps on a 4-inch or 6-inch step in 2 minutes. And like I want to stack Susan Clark on a map against the average 62-year-old and just see where she would fall.
What's crazy is you could literally go into a Starbucks where there's 30 people and put them all on one team and figure out like some competition that she could do against them, and they could rotate people in and out all they want, and she would crush them all.
Crush them.
She would win the competition. It's absurd.
I would bet if you took I would bet the fittest 62-year-old Susan Clark compared to the cohort of average 60-year-olds, I bet the gap between their fitness and hers is greater than someone in Matt Fraser's age range. So like Matt compared to his age range at average fitness, I bet Susan Clark, that gap is bigger for the 60s than it would be for Matt in his age range.
Oh, of course. Oh,
you think?
You're saying because he's so fit? Yeah, I agree with you. That's an interesting. At first, I was like, no, duh. But you're saying because Matt is so fit, he creates a larger gap.
I'm saying she creates a larger gap.
Well, both of them do. Yeah, that's
Huge.
Interesting. Yeah, it would scare most 62-year-olds to see her work out. Like, I'm not even joking. It would scare them.
It scares me.
It would. I mean, I would think that she was going to break. Yeah. Have you seen her in person, Brian or James?
No, but I can't. I'm going to go out of my way to meet her this year. Like, hell yeah, 4-time champ. Like, fuck yeah. It's great.
Yeah, I intend to do the same.
Does she speak English? Does she speak English? Should we have her on the podcast?
I mean, I'm sure she speaks English, yeah.
We've had... Dude, she's from Canada. I don't think you can just say that.
Okay, she's from West Vancouver.
Oh. So she smokes weed and speaks English.
She probably...
If we're making sweeping generalizations.
I would say yes.
I've written about her before, and one of the authors at Morning Chocolate wrote about her already this year. I mean, if you're really paying attention, you will have known who she is by now, and you should. It's really incredible what she's doing.
So you've spoken to her?
No.
You wrote about her but didn't call her?
Yes.
You should get a job at the New York Times.
Okay.
Why would you write an article about her but not call her? That doesn't make any sense to me.
The article was like featuring a few Masters athletes who have had incredible careers. So it was just basically putting into a digestible form the things that they have accomplished. I think it was Will Powell, there was maybe one other woman, and then Susan Clark were like these three that stood out because their careers were so incredible. We'll get to the other. It's I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank on her name, but she's made every single games as a Masters.
And have you, did you call any of the other ones?
No.
And did you use the excuse not to call them as you didn't want to bother them? Because I know that's one of your favorite ones.
I just didn't think it was necessary for the article. Lynn Knappman is the other woman that I featured in that. She's made every single game since Masters have been a thing.
Do the dudes have anyone equivalent to Susan Clark?
Well, they had Sean Ramirez. He won 4 straight years in a row and then got popped for drugs in year number 5. They have David Hippensteel, who won 3 years as a Master 60-plus athlete, I think. They've had Ron Ortiz, who's had a bunch of injuries, but when he comes back, he usually wins. Will Powell's won multiple games in multiple different age divisions. And there are a couple others as well, but 4 for 4, no, I don't think there's anyone.
Yeah, David Hippensteel. That name rings a bell. I've met his daughter. Was she a games athlete? I feel like I've seen his daughter around a bunch. And I see... Oh, he's the dude with long hair. Yeah, I would recognize him.
Yeah, he's got
first. He's only got 1 first place win.
No, he is...
Oh, no, 2.
3.
I see 2018 and 2013.
Okay, I thought there were 3, but maybe there were 2.
I wonder if he was hurt in 2020.
There was no competition in 2020.
So that 19th is open.
It's listed him as 19th at the games in 2020.
It says overall rank worldwide. Oh, and then it says under open. I apologize. Oh, shit, I was looking in the wrong place. Okay, so he does have 3 first place wins.
Oh,
2016, 2017, 2018. You guys are right. You're right. I wonder how old he is now. So this year he's going to be in the...
He might have aged up to
65 plus. Yeah. He'll be the young guy.
If he is, he's definitely winning it. He's still incredible.
All right. And then do we want to look at women 65 and plus?
I wonder if there are any I know. Lydia Beer has competed multiple times. Pia Gund has competed multiple times at the games. She's probably... And Mary Schwing. But Mary Schwing is going to be pretty old. Yeah, she's 69. So she's going to be the first athlete who's making a real case for a 70 plus division. Let's check Lydia Beer. I think she's been finished.
Dude, these are great names. Rhonda Desert, Pia Gund, Betty Harden, Linda Beer. These are great names.
And dude, I think it's so cool to watch them work out and compete. And you really couldn't do it if you were watching the individual competition in the last couple of years, and you can do it this year because they're on different days.
Every single person in the woman 65 and plus is American except for one who's from Sweden.
Yeah, that's...
Say that again, Brian. You think it's pretty cool that you can watch them what?
Yeah, they have separate days to compete this year, so you can watch them early in the week, and you can see. I mean, it's really impressive. The teenagers, the masters, and the masters are impressive for different reasons. You know, the physical feats that they're still able to perform at 38, 43, 48, 52, and then just the fact, then it kind of changes. Not that they can lift an incredible amount of weight for their age necessarily, but the skills that some of these athletes have at 57, 62. David Hippensteel, 65. I'm pretty sure he can bang out 8 to 10 ring muscle-ups unbroken. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. That is nuts. It's fun looking. You got me addicted to looking at their deadlifts. Like this lady's 65 plus, and she's got a 250-pound deadlift.
So think about that. I don't know. That just gives me hope, man. It gives me hope to get older, and makes me way less scared of it.
Dude, this lady Sylvania Volpe, she's 5'2", 117 pounds, and she has a 250-pound deadlift.
I don't know how you can't look at that and just be like shocked.
117 pounds. You know, I don't think you can give blood if you weigh 117 pounds. I think you have to weigh like 120 pounds.
No, because you're too busy deadlifting 250 for reps because she's an animal.
Yeah, it's nuts. Wow, I can't believe we dug into the Masters.
Sorry.
Really slumped.
I sidetracked this whole thing. But if people are out there listening, they're not impressed by that, then they need to check their pulse because you're dead on the inside.
Will we see pegboard at the games this year?
It's coming back.
You think so?
Yeah, it's a great time for it to come back. Pegboard's so fun.
Have you ever seen the pegboard? I've only seen it on Instagram where you don't actually put the wood into the holes. You slide it up pathways like a maze.
I've never seen that.
And you have 2 sticks, and you're like just sliding so you slide it up and then put it in a ledge, and then slide it up and put it in a ledge. Basically, I don't think the sticks can fall out. At least it looks like they can't fall out. You know what I'm talking about? And it usually looks like it's have you ever seen those?
Yeah, well, no, it makes sense. I haven't. It makes sense to me what you're talking about, though.
I've seen them, never used them.
I think this show has reached its end. Is there anything you want to, you guys want to talk about?
We still didn't get to my question, but we didn't have a right time to enter it, so I'm just going to hold on to it for now.
No, do it. What is it?
No, it's not the right time to do it. I like how this one went. This was nice.
See that?
Brian, why'd you shave? Why did you shave?
And I was walking into the bathroom the other day to take a shower. I looked in the mirror and I said, I feel like shaving, and I finally have time to shave. So I did.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Hobart, why did you shave?
Because I grow terrible facial hair, so like when it grows just a little bit, it looks even worse. So I try and stay as clean cut as possible.
Maybe you don't have terrible facial hair. Maybe you have expectations on the way it should look, and that's why you think it looks terrible.
Yeah, that's 100% right. Should I just wing it? Should I give it a shot? So see you at the games and just see what I can do?
Yeah, do 9 weeks. Give it 9 weeks. See what happens in 9 weeks of hair growth. Do you have gray hair? Any gray hair yet?
Yeah, I definitely do.
Is your beard gray?
No, but it's like I have red hair in my beard, which is really weird.
That makes sense. Are your pubes red?
No.
Is your armpit hair red?
Dark as the night. No.
Thank you.